Welcome to another week, another show of Hawkeyed with me, Dave O'Hara. Here's our buddy John Steppe. I'll get with John here in just a moment from the Cedar Rapids Gazette. On today's program, we record this on Wednesday afternoon, November 8th, and I chuckle because there is so much going on as usual in the Hawkeye world. John and I are going to talk football here in a moment. Sean Bock is going to join us after John, and Sean with 24/7 Sports at CBS Sports Property. Going to talk a little Nick Brooks, the decommitment news there, and Sean's also going to talk some Iowa Hawkeye men's and women's basketball with us, and then we'll close out the show as we usually do with our sports betting expert from Las Vegas, Northeast Iowa native, Scott Pritchard. That being said, here's our friend John Steppe. John, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you so much, and thanks for doing this as always. So let's get to it. You had press availability yesterday on Tuesday. LeVar Woods had a Zoom availability with the media and you folks this afternoon, again on Wednesday, November 8th. So let's start with the Hawkeye football program. What's happening present day? You were at Wrigley Field last week. Maybe we go there first with a 10-7 Hawkeye victory. Let's talk about the Hawkeyes' victory. What's upcoming with Rutgers this Saturday coming to Kinnick Stadium? And then your press availability. But let's start at Wrigley Field and your thoughts.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a pretty win. You're not going to put it in the Louvre, but it's a win. That's the important thing. They're 7-2. They're once again in the driver's seat of the Big Ten West. Yeah, so it puts them really in the driver's seat of the Big Ten West again. 3-0, and they for sure go to Indy. 2-1. They need a little bit of help, but not a ton of help to make that happen. So that was really the biggest significance of that win is really this makes Indianapolis a lot more feasible. Certainly no guarantee. They certainly still have plenty of work to do before clinching it, but it was putting them a lot closer to that. In terms of the game itself, it was kind of the same script that we've seen in terms of outstanding defense. Special teams is probably a little more shaky than usual, but some highlights for special teams. You look at offense was Iowa's offense again. So that probably says enough there. So it was one of those kinds of games once again, and these are going to be the types of games that we're probably going to see. Iowa is not a team built for 31-3 blowouts, really, and watch all of a sudden something absolutely crazy happen.
We'd take that, by the way, if you do say that. But you wrote some great pieces all week long, and again, Gazette.com, see all of John's handiwork, or via social media. So, John, what I find fascinating was when you talk about offense and special teams, and then defense, of course, as usual. But my goodness, that 4-play defensive stand on the goal line for the Hawkeye defense, that was your ball game right there. They had held Northwestern there, and then not a great punt from Torrey Taylor, got a return back to the Iowa 20. Well, then Northwestern ended up scoring a touchdown. But still the same, that was one heck of a defensive stand.
Yeah, and you look at it, it kind of became a moot point by the end when you think about how it set up that next drive. But it really was a statement for this Iowa defense.
Sent a message, you're right.
That 4 chances within 2 yards of the end zone, and Iowa's defense made 4 stops. And that really tells you just how special this Iowa defense is. It seems like each year they keep on losing players to the NFL, and they keep on doing what they do. So that was really an impressive. I think that's really a highlight from that game. It's not really something that shows up right away when you're looking at the box score, but it was really a definitive play there for Iowa's defense. And then for the offense, the reception to Caleb Brown, that was a big moment too when you think about it. That sets up the field goal.
Yeah, what a way to get his first catch in an Iowa uniform. And not his uniform because Cooper DeJean played offense, and we'll get to that in a minute. So he had to change from his number 3 to number 81 with no name on the back and gets his first catch as an anonymous Hawkeye. But to your point, what a catch that was, and it set Drew Stevens back up where he hit the upright in the first half from 53 yards, makes the 53-yarder to win the game. I'm so glad you brought that up about Caleb Brown with the number switch, and we're going to get to Cooper DeJean here in a minute.
Yeah, it really was a really good play, not just in terms of obviously it set Iowa up, but also good for Caleb Brown's confidence. Keep him engaged.
Hey,
really a talented guy.
Exactly, and let's be honest, Deacon Hill actually stepped up, stayed strong in the pocket, stepped up, and threw a laser. We don't say that often, and I'm not picking on the guy, but, his numbers were a little better, not high yardage, but completion. So I think, to your point, it was very good for Caleb Brown, but really good for Deacon Hill, hopefully, in this offense moving forward. So let's talk about the media and what else was happening yesterday during your press availability with players, with Coach Ferentz, and you had a press availability with LeVar Woods today, special teams coach. And so I'm just curious what the lay of the land is, if you could update us, please.
Yeah, LeVar Woods really was complimentary of Tory Taylor, as you would expect when you have an All-American punter. Really, one thing that stood out to me was LeVar commented, too, on the mental growth that Tory Taylor has made. Obviously, you've seen the punts, and there's a physical component of that, obviously, but also there's the mental component, and that's really an area where he has grown a lot, and as mentally strong as practically anybody was. I'm paraphrasing here, but really spoke really highly of Tory Taylor with that. Commented about how Drew Stevens kind of has this fire within him that they just kind of have to get out of him sometimes.
Yeah, we saw
knowing what to say to him to kind of unlock that a little bit. But Drew Stevens also somebody who is really physically improved over this last year. Certainly has gained a lot of weight, and credit to Raymond Braithwaite there for his physical growth. And obviously, you saw plenty of leg on that 52-yard game winner there. There's a lot still on the table for this Iowa team.
Yes.
Potentially a Big Ten championship game appearance. Of course, if you do go to the Big Ten championship game, that's going to be a really tough matchup against whoever you play. But still, you have the chance to potentially hang up a division banner. You have the opportunity to go to a quality bowl game. So I think there's a lot that they're focused on there. Obviously, we're thinking about Brian Ferentz's situation and all that, but at least their public comments, it seems to be that the Brian Ferentz news is in the rear view mirror.
Post-haste, it makes sense. They'll deal with it at the end. This isn't the Rutgers of old, so this could be an interesting game on Saturday it's a Big Ten Network, 2:30 Central Time kick at Kinnick Stadium. Let's talk about that a little bit, or what was said about Rutgers. Yeah,
this is a quality team, and a team that Kirk Ferentz has a lot of respect for. He has a lot of respect for their head coach, Greg Schiano. So a lot of respect really all around. That is a team that can run the ball really well. They've got a running back who leads the conference in rushing yards. Even when you look at efficiency, he has really a high volume, but even the efficiency is pretty good. Yeah. So they're a team that can run the ball defensively. They're stout. You saw they really kept in it longer against Ohio State than I think anybody was going to expect them to. So that was really an impressive thing, too. And then on special teams, that's something that they've done well in the past. This isn't really a new phenomenon. Rutgers is one of those teams in the Big Ten that historically they haven't necessarily had a ton of strengths, but special teams has been one of those.
Yeah. My friend, great seeing you as always.
Great seeing you too.
Thank you so much. He is John Steppe at Cedar Rapids Gazette, beat writer for Iowa Hawkeye Sports. We always appreciate John joining us at Gazette.com. So for John Steppe, I'm Dave O'Hara. We'll be back with more Hawkeyed in just a few moments.
To have a strong finish, you need an excellent start. It's true on the track and also in the field. That's why Mershman Seeds works tirelessly to deliver cutting-edge technology year after year. Introducing Starting Line, Mershman Seeds' latest advancement in seed treatment, now providing added protection from white mold and sudden death syndrome all season. Ask for Starting Line seed treatment from Mershman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeyed with me, Dave O'Hara. There's our buddy Sean Bock on the road covering some recruits as always a busy guy. Again, Sean with 24/7 Sports is CBS Sports Property. Sean, my friend, as always, thanks for joining us. I know you're busy, so let's get right to it. I'm going to start our segment with two words, a name, Nick Brooks. Let's talk.
Yeah, obviously Nick Brooks, the four-star offensive lineman out of Cedar Rapids, Kennedy, committed to Iowa in September. Decommitted from the Hawkeyes on, Tuesday.
Yesterday, November 7th, as we record this on Wednesday afternoon, November 8th. So continue, please. Yes.
Right. Yeah, just an interesting recruitment. I mean, obviously grew up in Cedar Rapids, first of all, spent his first 2 years of high school in Georgia, moved back to Cedar Rapids this past summer. It kind of felt like a perfect storm that, Iowa was going to get involved. They originally weren't involved because they didn't feel the need to go after him, considering he's from Georgia or was living in Georgia, living in SEC country. Obviously, you can't go wrong with some of these SEC schools that were coveting him. And, Iowa wasn't totally confident that they would be able to get him because he was in that part of the country and, didn't really seem to want to come back at that point. But, he was on the visit in April, told the coaching staff that the plan is for him to move back to Iowa to the 319, and that's what happened. And Iowa immediately became the team to beat. I mean, he's got 17 brothers and sisters. He's really close with his family, really close with his mom, really close with his little brothers who kind of look at him as like a father a little bit. And it just felt like the perfect storm for him to come back to Iowa and take his talents to Iowa City and play for Kirk Ferentz and company. Committed to Iowa in September in front of his classmates after a weekend visit that he took to Kinnick Stadium. It just felt all perfect. And I don't want to say it was the offensive struggles of Iowa. Obviously, maybe that had something to do with it. And I know I wrote on our message board that, it had something to do with the coaching changes, but I think more of it just had to do with the uncertainty in Iowa City at this point.
Yeah.
Granted, I mean, he went to Texas Tech this past weekend as a guest with a couple of buddies who are being recruited by Texas Tech. But when you're 6'7", 385, a four-star offensive lineman, you visit one of those schools like Texas Tech, you're not going to be looked at as a guest when you go on campus. So that was a big deal, and I don't think the Iowa staff was too happy about it. And I talked to him on, I think it was Monday night. I said, "Hey man, like, what's kind of the deal here? You gonna stay with Iowa, or what's kind of happening?" He's like, "I have no more game day visits planned to any other schools." Like, it kind of made it seem like he was fine with Iowa, but throughout this whole time, it was kind of eerie. It was a little bit eerie. I mean, I talked to him before he committed to Iowa for a story, so I could have a pre-write up when he committed. And he said that he's going to be committed to Iowa, but he's going to take visits to a couple other schools too, take official visits. And, it felt kind of weird there. And, I kept tabs with him saying, "Hey, man, like anyone else put me?" He said, "Not really." He made it to every home game in Iowa City this year and Kinnick to this point. And, it kind of seemed like all things were going well. But, that visit to Texas Tech, I'm not going to say Texas Tech is going to be the pick for him. But, it might have sparked something a little bit. There might have been a little something that, sparked him and said, "Hey, I kind of want to keep my options open." And, I don't know if I was going to land him. They're going to continue to recruit him, see what's what. But, how many times is a kid committed to one school or commits to one school, decommits, and then ends up picking that school? Yes, it's happened, but how it doesn't happen much.
I mean, you obviously, and we know this, and I want to reiterate to the viewing public, you communicate with these guys, these parents, their coaches. You're very much in the circle. So when Sean says he talks to these guys, he does, and I know you've had ongoing dialogue with Nick Brooks, so I know you'll keep us updated, Sean, as always. Thank you for that. I don't want to gloss over Bluder's bunch because when we record this again on Wednesday afternoon, November 8th, the Hawkeye women will be playing in North Carolina against Virginia Tech, number 8th ranked Virginia Tech. The Hawkeye women, number 3, is certain to move up because, man, I don't want to break a lot of Hawkeye women's basketball fans' hearts, but LSU lost the other night, number 1 LSU, and oh, by the way, Angel Reese. So they lost. So the Hawkeye women, Bluder's bunch, will definitely move up. And so that's a big game upcoming. Then, of course, Sunday, by the time we record again next week, the Hawkeye women will play at University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls. That game is sold out already. And Coach Bluder told us on this show last year when she was on, as did Caitlin Clark and Monica Sonano, that they want to win the state title. They want to beat Iowa State, UNI, and Drake. So very important games upcoming for the Hawkeye women. They handled business very mightily on Monday night. Opening my production partner, Michael Merrick, called that game for Big Ten Plus. Michael's going to join us next week to talk Hawkeye men's basketball as well, because he called last night's game on Big Ten Plus. Hawkeye men's basketball victory, mightily handling North Dakota. So 2 big victories for Hawkeye women and Hawkeye men. So let's talk a little bit about Bluder's bunch first and the Hawkeye men, please, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Iowa women's basketball did what they needed to do the other day, winning that game in pretty impressive fashion over Farley Dickinson. And yeah, I mean, Caitlin Clark got hers. She put up points. I think she had 28 points. So she did her end of the bargain.
In less than 24 minutes, she got 28 and almost messed around and got a triple-double at 28, 10, and 7. Not too shabby.
Right. I mean, I think the story, too, is Hannah Stolke. I mean, 22 points, 9 rebounds, nearly a double-double. Also had 2 steals in 18 minutes and was 9 of 10 from the field and 1 of 2 from 3. That seems to be a hot topic on social media, is her ability to shoot the 3 a little bit better this year. But I look at Sharon Goodman too. A big question mark coming into the year was the post play for Iowa, and Sharon Goodman put up 19 points. Maybe you want to see her get a little more rebounds. She had 4 rebounds, but she was 7 of 8 and 5 of 5 from the free throw line. So
Yeah.
those were 2 really impressive marks that I thought were pretty notable. And Sydney Alfreter also had a nice game off the bench with 11 points, 6 rebounds. So, if they can get those contributions from the likes of, I know you're going to get it with Stolke, you know what you're going to get with Clark, but if you can get Goodman, if you can get Sydney Alfreter, you can get her buckets, you can get Addison O'Grady. Molly Davis had that, crazy shot at the end of the first quarter. If you can get those guys, if you can get those girls to contribute, then, you're going to be in good shape.
Let's talk Hawkeye men. This is where I know you've really been following them even more closely, or as closely as the women. Some guys you know pretty darn well as high schoolers are stepping it up to the college level.
Yeah, I've been analyzing the game last night pretty closely over the last couple hours, and obviously, Ben Cricky and Peyton Sanford led the way in the scoring department, and I honestly did not even think about that too much, because you know what you're going to get with Cricky, Stanford, and Patrick McCaffrey, Tony Perkins. But the real story of the last couple games, I know it's only been 2 games this year, but you look at this freshman group, Brock Harding, Owen Freeman, the 2 Moline guys, those guys have been really good. I think Freeman, is already kind of becoming a fan favorite a little bit. Bryce Sanford didn't have his best offensive game last night, but he's going to be a guy that's going to come off the bench and hit threes and, be a versatile guy with the basketball in his hands. And Laje Dembele too. He gets the rep of being, a strong physical interior guy, but he steps out and hits 2 3-pointers. Yeah, he's had it for the last couple of years. He was able to step out a decent amount last year at St. Benedict's up there in Newark, New Jersey, but it's not something that he gets talked about a lot. And if he can step outside and hit that 3, that's huge for Iowa.
Sean, great stuff from you as always. Great to see you, and thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Looking forward to doing it in person soon.
I got to say, we'll see you after Thanksgiving and have you in studio again. So stay safe on the road recruiting and covering recruiting, and always appreciate your insights. Sean Bock, again, as you know, is from CBS Sports 24/7. Sean always does a great job talking recruiting, but also covering Iowa Hawkeye men's and women's basketball. So for Sean Bock and John Steppe, we'll be back to close out the show with our buddy Scott Pritchard, Scotty P from Vegas, our sports betting expert. We'll be back with more Hawkeyed in just a few moments.
Who do you trust to produce the best yield? A seed company that's chasing technology, or a seed company that's writing a book on it? Mershman Seeds is a leader in technology. We're independent and family owned. Our sister company, MS Technologies, provides access to world-class traits and genetics. And our starting line seed treatment is second to none. Who can you trust with your yields? Mershman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. There's our buddy Scott Pritchard, Scotty P from little old Northeast Iowa, now in the huge sea of Las Vegas, crushing it for the last 30-plus years as a sports betting expert in Vegas. Scotty P, my friend, as always, great to see you. Thanks for joining us. A lot to get to today with you. You're in the Circa Special Invitational, 16 best gamblers in the world invited there. You're still in the number 2 spot. Also the Golden Nugget contest. Of course, Circa, the world's largest and best sports book. Let's talk about those 2 contests before we get to your question of the week and a few other tidbits I have for you. So first of all, let us know the update on how you're doing on those 2 contests, please.
I did pick up a game on the first place guy, Kenny White, who's an icon in Las Vegas, has been for decades in this town. He's currently the front runner in the Circa World Championship of Sports Betting, the Circa Invitational. It's 7 sides and totals, point spreads and totals every week, college and pro. And I did pick up 1 game this week, so I'm a little bit closer, but I'm also concerned about the 14 to 15 people that are chasing me for second place. The Golden Nugget contest, 154 contestants, cowboying up, anteing up $1,000 each. They give cash back to the top 20. I'm in the top 4 as we speak. And again, that has nothing to do with totals. It's college and pro football sides, point spreads. And then in the Westgate Gold contest, it's $5,000 to get in. Winner take all versus the point spread NFL sides only. And out of 92 people, first place is 460,000. You get paid the same whether you finish second or last. And I'm in the top 7 in that contest as well.
Well, keep pushing it, my friend. Folks, as you see on the bottom of the screen throughout this segment with Scott, pritchardspicks.com for free picks. Also, if you choose to go into the paid pick portion, his number's still stellar, unbelievable, beyond stellar. 60% for the free picks. Again, almost 66% and above for the paid picks. Remember this, folks, 52.4% you've got to attain to at least break even. That's after you pay the juice, the vig, the tax, whatever you want to call that. So when I say Scotty P is crushing it, that's what I mean by that. So seek his counsel. And Scott, we have a couple of other viewers that have sent emails, and I've kind of condensed the questions this week into one. And kind of a retread, but I want you to go into some more detail because it's very appropriate and germane to what's happening this week. The sports, depending on the sports books that our viewers go to, Scotty, the Iowa Hawkeyes again start off and set a record at 28.5 as the over-under this week at home at Kinnick Stadium against Rutgers. Scott, when you talk about being the undertaker, what all goes into your consideration of choosing the under for totals, but also what does Vegas consider with this? Do they take in the poor performance or underwhelming performing Hawkeye offense, or do they consider field conditions, weather? What all goes into this is Donald's question to you, Scott.
It's a very smart question from Donald from Fairfield, Iowa. And I have to say that the first question you might ask yourself is, how do the sportsbooks go about setting a total and or a point spread for a specific game? It happens about 6-7 days before game time, and they'll set it out there for sharps, wise guys, advantage players, but they'll take small action. They'll try to set a number that ultimately will generate 50% of the action on the over, 50% of the action on the under, and they will take 10% of the losses. To your point, the juice, the vig, the tax, if you will. So that's the first thing. So after 6-7 days of sharps and wise guys and even Joe Public shopping this number, betting this number, they hope by game time that it's going to create potentially, ideally, a 50-50 betting prop to where the sports books will take 10% of the losses. Now, another thing to your point regarding Iowa, because they are inept offensively, challenged offensively, yet they are world beaters on defense, you have to look at everything. Everything affects everything else. You have the same information, boys and girls, that the odds makers have. So you have to be out in front of it. You have to see it before it happens. The fact is, the bowl game last year against Kentucky, the total was 31. It went under. 21 zip final. A couple 3 weeks ago against Minnesota, again, another dead under. It fell 22, closed 29. And then, of course, against Northwestern, another dead under. And again, right back at it. The line opened 29, has been bet down to 28. Depending upon where you're looking right now, it's 28, 28.5. But again, you will be hard-pressed to find a college total that low. But when it involves the Iowa Hawkeyes, I don't know if any total is too low. Now, to your question, or to Don's question from Fairfield, how do I go about it? I look at everything. I look at current form. How is this team currently playing? Are they a gunslinging team? Heck no. Are they a 1967 Packers type style of play where it's 3 plays in a cloud of dust? That will shorten the game. That will eat the clock. Iowa very conservatively play calling, very conservative in nature when it comes to college football. Then you have to look at the opposition. What is their style? They tend to mirror one another as far as knockdown, drag out football, to where they will shorten the game, eat the clock, tends to lead to low points. I don't have an opinion on this game. I think the odds makers are finally catching up to the fact, and that's why the market dictates that they keep lowering the total when it comes to Iowa Hawkeye football. When I look at injury reports, weather reports, current form, what did the line open at? What is it now? And more importantly, what is it going to be right before game time on Saturday?
Well, that is great advice, and you nailed it right there. I mean, this is one of those games, the guest before you, John Steppe, who reports on the Hawkeyes for us for the Gazette, Cedar Rapids Gazette, we both said, now watch this be a 41-7 game. But I think you hit on it. Rutgers, like Iowa, very conservative, and a record that the Hawks, I don't know if you want to be that record of the lowest back-to-back-to-back weeks, but I'll say this, Scott, when you talk record, the Hawks are still 7-2 and 4-2 in conference and leading the Big Ten West, and if they continue onward in this fashion, they'll win the Big Ten West and go to the Big Ten championship game. They're going to get a good bowl slot because they're going to win a few more games, even where they are, they're bowl eligible. So all of that you covered for us wonderfully. My friend, great stuff out of you as always. Great to talk to you. Viewers, I will tell you again, with smart money, go to pritchardspicks.com. Scott Pritchard, our Northeast Iowa native, now been in the Vegas area for the last 30 plus years as a sports betting expert. He is a sharp. He is the man. Scotty P, as always, great to see you. Thanks so much, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Sounds great. I'm a big Iowa Hawkeye fan, but I will say they will have their hands full this weekend against Rutgers. So let's hope the Hawkeyes can pull through. Keep up the good work, Dave. I'm a big fan of you and the show.
Well, thank you, and likewise back to you. Keep up the great work, and big fan of you and all that you do as well, and go Hawks indeed. So for Scott Pritchard and Sean Bock and John Steppe and you, the viewers, and my production partner, Michael Merrick, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeyed. That's all from us. Thanks to all of you. And as always, thanks for staying tuned at the end of the program for these rolling credits to give our advertisers and sponsors the attention and credit they so richly deserve. And as always, to our aforementioned guests and to you, the viewers. That's all from us at Hawkeyed. Thanks to all of you.